The Dallas Cowboys have a major hole at the slot cornerback position. How do they fill it before week one? We'll get to that next.
You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Landon McCool. You can follow him on Twitter at McCoolBCB. And on today's show, we're taking a look at the Cowboys slot cornerback position. Outside of wide receiver, you can maybe make the case that this is their biggest need on the roster. Jourdan Lewis is gone, and they haven't really filled that spot at all in free agency. So if the Cowboys had to play a game tomorrow, Landon, who's their starting slot corner?
I think it's probably got to be some combination of Izzy Muakamu and Daron Bland. You know, I think that what's interesting whenever you kind of change coaching staffs is that sometimes, you know, we assume a lot of carryover and a lot of, you know, oh, well, okay, he may change a couple things here and there, and it may be different at this position or that. But sometimes when they come in, they view these players very differently than we do. So I'm interested to see exactly, you know, Izzy Muakamu was not a guy that played a ton of snaps in the slot, but I mean he did play, you know, a good portion of the defense of his defensive snaps there. So it wasn't like he's unfamiliar with it. And Bland is obviously a guy who didn't play a ton of snaps last year at the slot. But he certainly played a ton of it in his first few years in the league and has the ability to do it. So I have to think, and I tweeted about this the other day, you know, I think even in both the best case and the worst case scenario of the development of the other cornerbacks on this team, I think that in both of those situations, you're looking at Daron Bland probably playing a significant amount of snaps at the slot corner spot, just simply because of the way that the roster is currently constructed.
Yeah, so as a rookie, Daron Bland played 480 snaps in the slot, which is quite a bit when you go back and you look at that 2022 roster when they have a lot of corners. They just had a lot of depth at the position. Must be nice. And then in 2023, 111 snaps, kind of sprinkled in every once in a while. But last year, 18 total snaps at slot corner. So he hasn't done it in a couple of years, but at least you feel comfortable that you do have somebody on the roster. And I think I was debating John Owning about this, but I have no problem with Bland playing in the slot. Like that's not an issue for me. The problem is if he's playing inside, who is playing on the outside for the Cowboys for the first month of the season?
It's probably Elam, you know, and
that's one. Who's the other one?
Well, Revel, I think probably, right? Like, I mean, I think
that's scary to me. That it's Revel and Elam as your two outside corners early in the season.
I don't disagree. Like, I think it certainly is a tight fit. I look, I guess my question to you is, if they hadn't picked Revel, right, like, or a first round corner, right, like, you probably would still have to go to the free agent market to go get another outside corner, right? And I think that probably the market for an outside a boundary corner, right, is might be actually a little bit better right now than it is for a slot corner. Like, we'll talk about, you know, free agent options here in a little bit, but it's pretty slim pickings, right? So I think what Bland offers you is the opportunity to, you know, have that flexibility in there. But I think as it is right now, you are definitely going to be relying on a young and inexperienced cornerback to play that outside cornerback position, even if you hadn't drafted Revel, because likely you would gone out and got, like, I don't know, CJ Henderson on a cheap deal or something, and probably be rotating him with the guys that you have on this roster already. So I don't think like Carson or I don't think Butler's going to be back in time, but one of those guys. So I think no matter what, you're likely to see some youth being served early in this season on that opposite outside corner spot.
Yeah, it's just, and again, the Cowboys shouldn't be making moves with the thought process of only September, right? Because ideally, or hopefully, you're going to get these cornerbacks back by October, and you're just going to try to figure out the ways to get your best 3 defensive backs on the field. And maybe that is with Trayvon Diggs on the outside, Revel at
Well,
the
yeah.
corner, and Bland in the slot. Like, that would be the ideal situation. And again, there's a chance that it's really rough the first month of the season. We just need to know that kind of going in. But they do have another option. They have Israel Muakamu, who the Cowboys re-signed this offseason. It's pretty rare to have a 6'4" slot corner, but this is kind of where Muakamu plays.
Yeah, I mean, we have to think about what they're being asked to do versus because this is not Quinn's defense anymore, right? So he's not the slot corner that's going to go out in there and man up on a bunch of guys. I mean, he's dropping into a hook zone a lot of times, and I really do think that Eberflus is notorious for blitzing his nickels. Like, I mean, not that he does it at a high rate, but when he does blitz, it does seem like he likes to blitz the nickel specifically more than linebackers or safeties or anything else. So I do think that there is an interesting role that can be carved out by Muakamu if they want to keep him on the field in 10 personnel to counter 10 personnel, 11 personnel on the field as an early down slot corner who comes in and does some blitzing stuff, does some coverage stuff, is good in the run fit game as a bigger body. I think as a guy who's dropping into a zone, especially against like RPO offenses and that sort of thing, he's just a guy with he has 34-inch arms. I keep forgetting that, and I went back and looked. He's got 34-inch arms. So when you have a guy like that who moves pretty well, you drop him into that hook zone, and he's going to eat up a lot of windows just by being there. So and then when it's third down and it's known passing situations, that's when you can put Bland maybe in the slot if you need to man up on a guy or play some more man coverage to kind of facilitate a blitzing situation. You certainly can do that. And then again, yeah, kind of to my point, circling back to that, is that in the best case scenario, right? Everyone gets healthy. Trayvon Diggs comes back on time and is ready to go. Suddenly, and Revel's great, and we want to play him a ton. What are you going to do? If you want to play Bland as well. So obviously he's going to be the guy that's going to have to reduce inside. So I think that we need to kind of largely accept that Bland is going to be playing a lot of snaps inside. So that doesn't mean that that's necessarily the plan for the first month of the season. I do agree with you that it's almost like we have to come up with a contingency plan for the first 4 weeks before Trayvon Diggs is able to come back and play significant snaps, because otherwise it's going to be kind of trying to how much runway can we survive with a rookie corner and then a guy like Elam on the opposite side? Like, does that run out quick? Do you get exposed eventually? Like, how long can that last?
Well, and that's why I think I'm very open to the idea of the Cowboys going out and finding one more veteran corner, whether it's an outside guy or a slot guy that can come in and just give them some solid play, even for a month, 2 months. And that's why the Stephon Gilmore thing was so interesting a couple weeks ago. We haven't heard any more news about that. I wouldn't be surprised if Gilmore's waiting until we get to training camp or after training camp. But there's some other free agent options out there, Landon, that are very appealing. We will get to those guys next. This episode is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts that are ready to help take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with the top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. And if you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who will help you deliver incredible results. Plus, posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, you can get multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That is Upwork.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Landon, we talked about the current players on the roster to fill the slot job. What about some outside free agents? Because there are a couple of guys in free agency right now that could help the Cowboys out there.
Yeah, I know you got one in mind, so I'm going to leave him to you. But I'll rename Stephon Gilmore because I do think he is an interesting name here. If you go and look at the list of available corners right now, like I mentioned in the previous segment, it's a lot of outside guys. I mean, I think guys that probably fit what the Cowboys want to do. I mean, as far as like boundary corners go, but they're not necessarily shopping for those guys, and especially kind of at the quality that the guys are available.
No.
But at the slot corner, there's not a ton, right? But there are one or two guys that have some experience there, and Gilmore is obviously one of them. And his experience with being in Dallas, I think he may still live in Dallas.
I'm
not sure,
yeah.
or at least has a house in Dallas still. So there's obviously some things that line up there. He's obviously really well liked in the locker room by the guys there. And even though the scheme has changed and the coaches have changed, a lot of the same guys are here still in the locker room. So there's personal chemistry there, and that he would fit right into the locker room and be a respected leader. I also think that just he has such a varied skill set. I mean, that's one of the things that's so great about Gilmore is that he can kind of just do whatever you ask him to, right? And that's always been what's been great, especially in a weak link system like the defensive backfield, right? Like to have a guy that you could plug into any sort of role and he could play it comfortably is really, really useful. So I don't hate the idea. I mean, he is 34 years old. There is a point when eventually he falls off a cliff, but I thought he was moving pretty well last year. We're only asking him really to come in and be relied upon for 4, maybe 5 games before, there's some help on the way. And it doesn't even have to be Trayvon Diggs. It could just be one of these other younger players coming off the bench to potentially, alleviate some of the stuff. So I think Diggs is one of the very few options in the free agent market that, makes a lot of sense, fits, and can actually play slot corner.
Yeah, if you're looking at the free agent market, there's 2 names. The first one is probably the name everybody knows, and that's Asante Samuel Jr., who played with the Chargers. I know a lot of people wanted the Cowboys to draft him back in 2021, I believe.
But is he even a slot corner?
Well,
really?
that's what I was going to get to.
Yeah.
41 career snaps
Yeah.
out of the slot. Now, he's small, 5'10", 180. And
that's always been his thing, right? Like, is that he's been small in an outside corner, which is a weird combo. It's why he's had such a weird career.
Yes, yeah, and he hasn't played there a lot. So he's also got some injury stuff. So that one I'm not sure, right? Like I don't know if he fits. If you want a pure slot corner, Mike Hilton, who played with the Bengals and was with the Steelers before that, he's probably the best pure slot guy available. But I think I was telling you yesterday, he is great at everything you need a slot corner to do except cover. And this is where the Bengals ran into problems, is that on like key third downs, they would take him off the field for a cornerback who was better in coverage. But where Mike Hilton is fantastic is he is a plus run defender. He's a fantastic blitzer. And you actually have a really good stat that you sent to me about Matt Eberflus blitzing, where he doesn't blitz very often, but when he does, I think 45% of the time it's because it's from the slot, that slot defender. And that's where I think Mike Hilton could have some value.
Yeah, that number came from I think the first 5 games of 2024, and he was really just on he being Eberflus, on every second down and long or second down and medium, he was blitzing a lot, and he was always blitzing using the slot corner. So again, I do think I even really like that. I mean, depending on obviously what the number is, and if it's just trying to get numbers in the situation, He's a little bit undersized, but I do think he kind of would fit a combination of, maybe you could triangulate the problem between the two guys you already have on the roster and Hilton as well. But he does kind of fit in that same idea of like, look, maybe you just need a guy to kind of help you facilitate early downs. He's not going to get you killed on early downs and coverage, but maybe when it's time to actually get into serious throwing situations, that's when you kind of sub him off the field, reduce Bland down, and then play the best three corners that you have in pass coverage on the field.
Yeah, I like Mike Hilton, but I understand why the Cowboys might be a little bit cautious. He's also he's in his 30s now.
It's 31. It's I mean, it's like, how much do you pay a guy like that too? Like that's a tough contract to kind of
$3 million a year.
And I think it's like an insurance policy in some ways, right? So it's like, to me, it feels like if they were to do something like this, it's probably a lot like Gilmore, where they're going to wait, right? They're going to see what they've got in Izzy kind of playing the slot and rotating Bland in. And if they don't feel like they got enough, or if they don't feel like depth is an issue, or if one of these young outside guys doesn't step up and you feel like it's stretching you too thin, maybe you just bite the bullet and you pay him $3 million and he just makes you feel better about the situation for the first month of the season.
But I got a better option in free agency right now. This guy's not a slot corner, but Rasul Douglas is a free agent who played with the Bills last year and played pretty well early in the season. He was fantastic with the Packers from 21 to 23 before he got traded at the deadline. This is somebody who is 29 years old. He'll be 30 at the end of August. The Cowboys love long corners, 6'2", 210 pounds, 32.5-inch arms. He is somebody that can play on the outside right away, and that allows you to move Daron Bland in the slot. He's, again, it's a 29-year-old corner, or so he's going to be soon to be 30-year-old corner. You give him a 1-year deal, and you're renting him the first half of the season, and you're getting a veteran that can help in the run game. I think Rasul Douglas is the play here, and that allows you to put Daron Bland in the slot, just giving you the most flexibility.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think that the reason that I mentioned a CJ Henderson versus Rasul Douglas is the price point. Is that I just don't know if the Cowboys, like, I'm wondering what do you think his price point is?
I think I saw on Over the Cap, like the projected number at this point is like $6 million for 1 year.
See, I wonder if that might be a little bit, like, to me, that felt like Rasul was a guy that I kind of had in the back of my mind for if the Cowboys hadn't, taken Ravel, right? And I think it makes sense. I don't disagree with you. Like, I think as far as, like, if you're going for the best corner, it makes sense. But I mean, at the same time, you're renting him, that's fine, but you're not even really renting him for the year, right? Like,
that's okay. To me, that's okay. You're renting him till Halloween, basically.
Yeah, for $6 million, I feel like that's a lot of money, right?
Well,
like,
maybe it's $3 million base, and then you give him incentives like based on snaps, because maybe there's just a chance that you're going to need him more than that. Maybe Diggs doesn't come back. Maybe Revel struggles to get healthy, and maybe that's how he earns the $6 million. He ends up playing 15 games for you.
I'm okay with paying him $6 million. I just wonder if the Cowboys will pay him $6 million. And I don't listen. I actually agree with you though. I think if they're a little bit concerned about Trayvon Diggs, or if they're not sure if the timeline is quite as tight, or if Revel is maybe not quite as far along as they thought, I would definitely pay the $6 million just for the insurance, and I could sleep at night because I would feel like, okay, I feel like even worst case scenario, I've got a starters worthy group of corners out there to kind of get me through until Revel and Diggs are ready to play again.
We'll be interested to see if they explore the free agent market. I wouldn't be shocked, Landon, if they wait until like mid-August to sign somebody, because I bet you they want to see like Kalen Carson and Kyrie Elam get as many snaps as possible. And if they have to go out and get Gilmore or get Rasul Douglas or get Mike Hilton, that's when you go out and make the move. So I don't anticipate them doing anything right now, but there are options available if they need to go get a veteran corner.
And now,
There
yeah,
is
it becomes a race between who's going to wait the shortest amount of time before signing these veteran corners. Like that's the only interesting thing
well,
here.
I also don't like these veteran guys. Like they don't love training camp. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a lot of
So
times
maybe they're telling everyone, no, thanks.
yeah,
Call
yeah.
me in
Well,
August, right?
call me in August. Let me have my
Yeah.
summer with my kids. The Cowboys also have an undrafted free agent who could potentially fill this role. Let's talk about Zion Childress next. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like the atmosphere of an NBA playoff game. Every bucket, every defensive stop, every moment feels huge. It's electric in the arena. And with Game Time, you can be part of it without the stress of last minute ticket hunting. Game Time makes it fast and easy to get playoff tickets, even when the demand is sky high. Plus, the prices on the app actually go down as we get closer to tip off, and their last minute deals can save you up to 60% off. The all-in pricing, which is one of my favorite features on the app, means there's no surprise fees at checkout. What you see is what you pay. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back to the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Scouting Show. The NFL draft is over, but the roster moves and the news never stops. Host Kyle Krabs and Joe Marino will make you the most informed NFL fan this offseason. Find Locked On NFL Scouting on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, Landon, the Cowboys do have one other option on the roster to potentially fill this slot role, and that is Zion Childress, an undrafted free agent from Kentucky who spent the first couple of years of his career at Texas State, but played a bunch over the last 3 years. He had 26 starts at Kentucky. He's an undersized safety corner, but I know there's a lot of people that really like him.
Well, he's not that undersized though. That's the thing. He is 6'1", 195, so he kind of has that beanpole thing going for him. But that's the thing that's kind of interesting to me about him is that you look at him too. He played almost exclusively, between the tackles. I mean, in some between inside, not a boundary corner specifically, right? He played slot, he played strong safety. He kind of just played all throughout the Kentucky defensive backfield, wherever they needed him. And so it's going to be interesting to see exactly what they had in mind for him, because to me, his profile reads like he is going to get an opportunity to kind of come in here and play the slot. And so it's interesting too, because I kind of felt like you look at him and you look at the fact that they clearly intentionally re-signed Izzy to come in and play slot as well. And it really does read like they're looking for maybe a bigger body inside, that they're not necessarily worried about manning up on slot receivers, that they're looking for guys who can drop into short zones and close windows with their arms. So it'll be interesting to see how that helps him kind of get into this role a little bit quicker, if it's a very familiar role for him, especially playing a bunch of strong safety and playing slot. I mean, he's going to be very familiar with the kind of angles and everything. So, and again, SEC player. So, I mean, he's definitely done it at a high level. The question is, like, can he come in and fill that role, and specifically what Eberflus is looking for, which it does look like is a different type of kind of body than maybe the previous regimes we've seen.
Yeah, I should mention size-wise, 31.5-inch arms, which is exactly what the Cowboys want. Like they have a slot corner that has over 31-inch arms is perfect for them. I've got the breakdown for snaps for him. During his college career, 1,100 slot corner snaps, over 900 box snaps, 100 defensive line snaps, basically as a blitzer. He's played, which is funny enough, only 87 as a outside cornerback, 886 at free safety. They moved him all around, but his primary position at Kentucky was as a slot defender. And I've got to assume that's probably where he's going to play for the Cowboys. He's going to be an inside guy. And again, with the lack of slot options on this team, And with the Cowboys very willing to give spots to undrafted free agents, I would not be surprised if he finds himself on the roster. I watched this tape on Monday. The ball production isn't there. You can see that in the beast. Like he just doesn't have the interception totals that you want, but he plays fast and his speed is noticeable on tape. I think he's one of these guys that we need to keep an eye on during training camp and during the preseason, because it won't shock me if he makes the roster.
Yeah, I mean, look, again, just kind of looking at the profile and the things you just described, this definitely could be a guy that is a better football player than the fact that he didn't get drafted, right? He's very specific, right? He's a big slot corner, which, not a ton of guys that necessarily teams, looking for that specifically. So SEC guy obviously didn't have a ton of production, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't play well or he doesn't fit into a defense well. So there is a very good chance that a guy like this with good athleticism, a little bit of size, maybe he has to play a specific role on this defense, but that's okay because he fits exactly what we're looking for. Maybe there's a good chance that this guy may come in and outplay his, lack of draft position and become a good player for the Cowboys in this defense, at least maybe as a rotational guy and a special teams guy.
There's parts of his game that remind me of Xavier Woods, who was a 6th-round pick by the Cowboys, who's still in the NFL today. I think he's the starter for Carolina. Somebody that can play a lot of different spots, and maybe he's not your full-time slot corner, but maybe the combination of him, Daron Bland, Izzy Muakamu, it's good enough to get you by until you can either find a long-term starter or until some of your other cornerbacks get healthier and it gives you options. So going to be interested to see what happens there. All right, that is it for today's show. We'd like to thank you for making Locked On Cowboys your first listen every single day. Make sure you check out the channel on YouTube, download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Make sure you check out the Squad show. We've got ones on Monday and Thursday. Those are live shows, so get your questions in. Make sure you're following Landon on Twitter at McCool BCB. I'm at Marcus _Mosher, and we will see you right back here tomorrow.